Your Excellency, Senator Monday Ekpobolo, the Executive Governor of Edo State, ably represented by his Deputy Governor, Your Excellency, Dr. Edo State, the Minister of the Ministry of Regional Development, here present, that is Engineer Abubakar. Momo, you are highly welcome. Distinguished colleagues, honorable members, permanent secretaries, directors, esteemed stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you all to this important 3-day retreat of the Ministry of Regional Development that is titled Generating Fresh Ideas to Unlock the Potential of the Region. I bring you warm greetings on behalf of the Senate Committee on Regional Development, and I commend the leadership of the Ministry for convening this strategic and forward-looking engagement. This retreat is both timely and necessary, given the evolving development landscape and the urgent need to recalibrate our approaches towards achieving balanced, inclusive, and sustainable growth across our regions. At a time when our nation is poised for renewed transformation, this gathering aligns strongly with the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his Renewed Hope agenda, which places emphasis on economic revitalization, infrastructure development, job creation, and improved governance. Regional development is a critical pillar in this agenda, as no nation can achieve true prosperity if growth is uneven or opportunities are limited to a few centers. Our collective responsibility, therefore, is to ensure that every region is empowered to contribute meaningfully to national progress. Our regions are endowed with abundant natural resources, resilient communities, and a vibrant population of young, enterprising citizens. What is required now is this retreat must go beyond routine deliberation. It is an opportunity to review existing policies, identify structural gaps, and propose innovation, practical and sellable solutions that will unlock the vast potential within our regions. From enhancing infrastructure and promoting economic diversification to strengthening institutional frameworks and leveraging public-private partnerships, we must be bold in our thinking and decisive in our action. A coordinated, well-articulated strategy that transforms these assets into drivers of growth, stability, and shared prosperity. This is where your expertise, experience, and commitment become indispensable. The Senate Committee on Regional Development remains resolute in its mandate to provide robust legislative support, effective oversight, and constructive collaboration with the Ministry and all relevant stakeholders. We are committed to ensuring that policies and programs emanating from engagements such as these are not only well crafted, but also effectively implemented for tangible results. I encourage all participants to engage openly, think innovatively, and contribute meaningfully to the discussions. Let us challenge assumptions, share best practices, and work collectively towards outcomes that will stand the test of time. The success of this retreat will not be measured by the quality of discussion alone, but by the impact of the ideas generated and the actions that follow. As you deliberate over the next 3 days, I am confident that your insights will help shape a more coordinated, resilient, and prosperous regional development framework, one that truly reflects our shared expression as a nation. On this note, I wish all fruitful deliberation and a rewarding engagement. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator, I appreciate you. Thank you too. Can we appreciate him as he steps down now? Thank you very much. Thank you. Your Excellencies, over the course of the next 2 days, this arena will be more than a venue. It will become a laboratory, a marketplace of ideas, a crucible where vision is tested and refined. Here, perspective will meet, ideas will stretch, assumptions will be challenged. And that will be the challenge for us in the next 2 days. To give us the next goodwill message, speaking on behalf of all the House of Representative Chairmen of all the development commissions, I'd like to welcome here a bona fide son of the soil, representing the good people of Esa Central, Esa West, Igwebe Federal Constituency. Please welcome Right Honorable Marcus I. Onobun.
I'm already at he's my member from Imo, and this is my state. Do you understand? A junior colleague for that matter. He should even show respect. Do you understand? No, it's fine, but Eugene should show respect.
For regional development, but they consult.
No, if I step down, I won't come back here to speak. Do you understand? If I step down, I will come back here to speak. Otherwise, you guys would have arranged the protocol what to do. Do you get? So if you say I should go ahead, fine. If not, I'll step down, then we can. Yes. Okay.
Let me first and foremost apologize to Right Honorable Onobun. Gentleman, indeed, we appreciate you. Thank you for your candor and your simplicity. We thank you very much. Thank you. So let me welcome here the chairman of the House Committee on Regional Development, Honorable Eugene Dibiago. I welcome you, Honorable.
Thank you very much for doing the right thing. My name is Honorable Eugene Okechukwu Dibiago. I'm the House Committee Chairman on Regional Development. Your Excellency, the Executive Chairman of Edo State, Senator Monday Opobele, ably represented by my brother, His Excellency, Right Honorable Dahosa, Honorable Minister of Regional Development, Engineer Abubakar Momo, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Regional Development, Senator Ipia, and other senators here present, and also the Senate Committee chairmen of various commissions. Also, let me represent and also identify with my colleagues the House Committee chairmen of various commissions. Please let me stand on the already well-established protocol on want of time. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am highly delighted to be part of this sectoral retreat for the Regional Development Commissions in Nigeria, and I'm deeply honored by the privilege to present a goodwill message at such an auspicious event. I bring you warm greetings from the leadership of the House of Representatives, ably led by the Speaker, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, GCON. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his vision in signing into law the bills establishing the Regional Development Commissions. This is undoubtedly a major step in the right direction to boost infrastructure and economic growth across our nation. I also commend the Honorable Minister of Regional Development, Engineer Abubakar Momo, for his foresight in organizing this retreat, providing a vital platform for all commissions to deliberate on unified strategies for driving progress. The timing of this summit is critical. As we are all aware, Nigeria currently faces a multifaceted crisis characterized by high insecurity, intense economic hardship, and systemic governance failures, with over 65% of our citizens facing extreme poverty and businesses struggling against infrastructure deficit. Every region from the northwest to the south confronts unique yet intertwined challenges. Consequently, there is an urgent need to improve institutional collaboration and equip these commissions with practical methods to unlock regional potentials through focused dialogue and partnership. All these commissions work towards shaping Nigeria's economic trajectory. The central focus must remain on the welfare of ordinary citizens. While the principle of shared prosperity is a major concern for many Nigerians, the reality remains complicated. Despite government initiatives, a growing wealth gap and the concentration of economic powers have deepened disillusionment. To bridge this gap, development commissions must listen directly to the people, understanding their daily realities to create a broad strategy that tackles the core drivers of economic inequality. To achieve this, I urge the leadership of these commissions to focus on 5 key priority areas: investing in human capital through the education and the healthcare, encouraging inclusive entrepreneurship for small businesses, strengthening social safety nets for the vulnerable, improving transparency and accountability in governance, and pursue sustainable development that protects our national resources for future generations. On behalf of my colleagues, I want to assure you that the House committees oversighting the ministry and its commissions are on a standby to provide the necessary support. We are committed to eliminating bottlenecks that may hamper your objectives. The transition from the Ministry of Niger Data Affairs to the Ministry of Regional Development under President Tinubu represents a landmark policy advancement that refocuses empowerment across all 6 zones, and the National Assembly remains dedicated to pioneering legislative excellence required to sustain this vision. Ultimately, the success of this commission rests on the integrity of their boards and management. You must prioritize the knowledge gained at this retreat to design policies that lift people out of poverty and raise the status of public infrastructure. Most importantly, you must resist the temptations of corruption and mismanagement that have historically hindered some of our federal agencies. By emphasizing transparency and honesty administration in the award of contracts and distribution of projects, you can ensure that the hope of a fairer, more prosperous Nigeria becomes a reality. I express my profound gratitude for the opportunity to share this message, and I wish you all fruitful deliberations. Let Nigeria prevail always. Thank you very much, and God bless all of us.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Dibiago, we celebrate you. You know, the beauty of this retreat, to me, is that this is a family meeting. And so every member has a voice. Every member is very important. Because in the next 2 days, we'll be generating new ideas. We'll be having bold moments of questioning the status quo, where we challenge what exists and imagine what could be. I'm very happy about our gentleman who stepped down. I'd like to welcome you back on stage to hear your voice. This is a family meeting. Please welcome your Right Honorable Marcus Onobun.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, the Akpako rescue of our time, ably represented by His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa, the members of National Assembly here present, the Honorable Minister, a son of the soil, and a man that we're all proud of, the Minister for Regional Development, the Minister for States, Regional Development, the MDs and CEOs of Northeast Development Commission, the head of Regional Development Commissions, staff of the Ministry of Regional Development Commission, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here this morning to speak on behalf of my colleagues, Chairman of Regional Development Commission of the National House of Representatives. It is a pleasure and honor to join you today at this important retreat organized by Ministry of Regional Development. And I extend my warmest greetings to all participants and commend the Ministry for creating this platform to deliberate on strategies for harnessing the full potential of our regions. The theme for this retreat is generating fresh ideas and to unlock the potential of these regions. This resonates deeply with our shared commitment to inclusive development, innovation, sustainable growth. These regions of our nation holds immense untapped opportunities, and it is through a collaborative engagement, innovative thinking, and dedicated policy interventions that we can transform these potentials into tangible progress for our people. This gathering comes at a critical moment when our region requires innovative thinking, stronger collaborations, and hold action that translates their vast potential into real development. All the development commissions in Nigeria are rich in opportunities, and with the right ideas and commitments, we can drive sustainable and lasting transformation. As I speak on behalf of other chairmen, I am particularly encouraged by the innovatives that prioritize empowerment, infrastructural development, and capacity building. I am confident that the deliberations from this retreat will provide actionable insight and fresh perspectives that will guide our policies and programs towards creating resilient, prosperous, and self-reliant regions. I assure you of our continued support in advancing the policies and initiatives that will empower our people and strengthen regional development efforts in Nigeria. I wish all participants fruitful discussions, constructive debates, and inspiring exchanges that will pave way for meaningful regional transformation and full potentials of our region. I encourage all participants to engage actively, share ideas openly, and work collectively towards practical solutions that will benefit our nation. I wish you all productive deliberation and successful retreat. Thank you, and God bless.
And God bless you too. Thank you very much. That is Son of the Soil, representing SS Central. I welcome you. Thank you very much. You know, part of the good things about these retreats is that the Ministry of Regional Development works with development partners, UNICEF, UNIDO, and the rest. Do we have anybody in the room from UNICEF? Nobody? Okay. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is fitting that we recognize the leadership that has made this moment possible. A man that leads with a beacon of vision, discipline, and unwavering commitment to regional development and transformation. His leadership continues to inspire direction, confidence, and hope. We are very grateful for his leadership, and I'm very happy that he's here. I'd like to welcome the Honorable Minister for Regional Development, Engineer Abubakar Momo, member, a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. I welcome you, sir.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, Senator Mode Okpewolo, the Apakomiza of our time, who is here ably represented by the Deputy Governor of the state, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa. And I think it's important we know that this is the first outing of the Deputy Governor since he lost his mother about a week ago. Let us pray for the repose of the soul of her mother. Amen. Let me also recognize the presence of the chairman of Senate Committee on Ministry of Niger Delta and the Development Commissions, and through Senator Pisagba, let me give that recognition. And through Honorable Dibiagu, let me also recognize the chairman of the Ministry of Regional Development and Development Commissions. Also to be recognized are the chairmen and managing directors of regional development. I can see the chairman of NDDC here, the chairman of Southeast Development Commission, the chairman of Northeast Development Commission, our Papa, General Paul Taffa is here, is part of his age. We can also see the chairman of North Central, the chairman of Northwest Development Commission is also here. You are all welcome. Let me also recognize the presence of the managing directors of the development commissions. I can see the Ogboku, Sam Ogboku of the NDDC. I also can see the managing director of Northeast, Elijah Alikari. Also the managing director of North Central is here. The managing director of Northwest, Professor, is here. The managing director of Southwest is also here, and also is chairman, distinguished senator. And they are all here present. And indeed very glad that all of you are here. My permanent secretary has been working very hard to see that we achieve success in this very retreat. I also have here a number of leaders from this very state who are here with us. We have here the first deputy governor of Edo State, Reverend Peter Obada, is here seated. We also can see one of our prominent leaders, Pastor Osagi Ize Iyamu. Also here we have Right Honorable Osagi and Right Honorable Osaho. There's also one important personality here who was, I can say, was the first Deputy National Secretary of PDP in those days, 1999, who later transformed to be the first chairman of Asho Congress. They were the first set of people that embraced Asho Congress in this very state. And later, ACA, he was our first chairman, and this year is part of his age. Tony Omwangi, the digital chairman, you are welcome. There are quite a number of other leaders who are here, but for want of time, let me say that every one of you is highly recognized, and you are welcome. Let me also welcome the executive directors, board members of the various development commissions that are here present. Also, to be recognized are commissioners and members of Edo State House of Assembly. They are all here with us. Having said that, let me say that it is a great honor and privilege to address you today at this very important sectorial retreat convened by the Ministry of Regional Development to deepen our collective commitment to the sustainable and inclusive development of our nation through the regions. Let me express my deep appreciation to the governor and the good people of Edo State for the hospitality, and also particularly His Excellency, Senator Monday Okpeolu, who, of course, is part of the fight that he had wanted to be here this morning because he traveled to Abuja yesterday for a meeting, and because he was not able to make it immediately, has delegated his deputy governor, who, of course, has not been operating. He has been mourning since, to be here with us. And we appreciate you, Your Excellency, for being here with us this morning. The President, in his characteristic wisdom, that is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, in his characteristic wisdom and foresight, has prioritized regional development, planning, and implementation by establishing 5 new development commissions, each representing the 6 geopolitical zones of our country. You recall that sometimes last year, May last year, we had only 2 new regional development commissions. And we had a similar retreat in Lagos last year. Now that we have a full house with the 5 new development commissions complete, we are here again so that we can learn whether old or young, there's no limit. Even the people that are going to present paper today, after presenting your paper, the questions you'll be asked, you will also be learning. So everybody that is here today is here to learn. There's no limit. There's no amount of knowledge that you have that will not learn more. This bold initiative is not anchored in geopolitical considerations, but on a strategic commitment to geospatial development, recognizing the need for a multi-sectorial, area-based, and spatially targeted approach to serve as a catalyst to regional economic and social transformation. This event, therefore, offers us an invaluable opportunity to reflect deeply on the new assignment entrusted on us by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. It underscores the urgency and relevance of strengthening the synergy between the ministry on one hand and all the regional development commissions, that is the Niger Delta Development Commissions, Northeast Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, Northwest Development Commission, South-South Development Commission, Southwest Development Commission, and the North Central Development Commission. This retreat is not just another meeting, it is a significant milestone in reaffirming our shared responsibility to transform our regions into zones of prosperity, peace, and opportunity. Each commission represented here today carries a solemn mandate born out of the need to address the historical, social, and economic disparities that threaten the fabric of our national unity. As we survey our respective regions, we must be inspired by the vibrant, resilient, and culturally rich communities teeming with untapped potential. We observe the differential agroecological conditions, the diverse biodiversity, tourism potentials, and the unique cooperative advantages inherent in each region. Factors that, if properly harnessed, can drive sustainable, inclusive, and complementary development for our country. For instance, the Niger Delta Development Commission remains pivotal in driving environmental remediation, economic rejuvenation, and infrastructural development in one of the most strategic and yet challenged regions of our country. The Northeast, for example, Commission is tasked with rebuilding livelihoods and infrastructure ravaged by insurgency and restoring hope across the Northeast region. The Southeast Development Commission is expected to catalyze economic growth, industrialization, infrastructure development, and social integration in the Southeast region. The Northwest Development Commission will focus on restoring stability, enhancing agricultural productivity, and rebuilding infrastructure and communities impacted by banditry and social economic marginalization. The South-South Development Commission will also complement the work of NDDC and is also expected to focus on building a prosperous region beyond oil and gas. The South-South is also very much rich in agriculture. Just like we expect that the Southwest Development Commission will focus on innovation, technology, agriculture, and commercial growth. The North Central Development Commission is focused on a region known for its agricultural splendor and diverse critical mineral resources. Beyond the focus areas, the commissions must also look into the possibility of establishing centers of excellence of health care delivery system and other fields of human endeavor. We must invest decisively in critical infrastructure, physical and digital, to ensure seamless connectivity and accessibility across and within our regions. Our agenda, among others, must prioritize roads, bridges, transportation links, investment, healthcare delivery, security, digital infrastructure, youth and women empowerment. That has further reinforces the statement made by one of the honorable member of the House. These commissions, while regionally anchored, they must work towards a common national objective, equitable and sustainable development that leaves no citizen behind. They form part of the delivery point of the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. As you all know, the Renew Hope agenda is anchored on 8 presidential priorities, namely, to reform the economy for sustained inclusive growth. 2, to strengthen national security for peace and productivity. 3, to boost agriculture to achieve food security. 4, to unlock energy and natural resources for sustainable development. 5, to enhance infrastructure and transportation as enablers of growth. 6, to focus on education, health, and social investment as essential pillars of development. 7, to accelerate diversification through industrialization, digitization, creative arts, manufacturing, and innovation. And 8 is to improve governance for effective service delivery. One of the recurring challenges we face is duplication of efforts. Uncompleted projects and interagency rivalry. This has to stop. I think for the development commissions, we must always work in close synergy with the state governments and other development partners in your region. If you must identify areas that you are going to work with. This has to stop, like I said. A key expected outcome from this retreat is a framework for national coordination of regional development that will harmonize project planning, funding, implementation, reporting across the commissions. Let it be emphasized that we must confront and address the institutional ambiguities and structural bottlenecks that may constrain effective performance. As the Minister of Regional Development, along with my colleague, the Honorable Minister of State, and the Permanent Secretary, we shall insist on project continuity and completion. This is an area which, of course, the NDDC has been working hard since this new board came into existence. New projects must only commence when existing ones are substantially completed and assessed for impact. On no account should you go into awarding contracts when you don't have financial backing. We shall promote shared learning and best practices among commissions to foster innovation, efficiency, and effectiveness. To drive and sustain performance, the ministry will introduce a system of peer review among the commissions. I think by the grace of God, in the 2nd to 3rd quarters of this year, we will embark on that, since we've started to get small releases. It is important to note that before the close of this retreat, the leadership of all the regional development commissions will respectively enter into performance board with the ministry. That is, the chairman and the managing directors of the development commissions, with the exception of NDDC, which has done its own previously. Every other commission will sign performance board, the chairman and the managing directors. These boards will define clear benchmarks and performance indicators against which progress will be assessed. Most importantly, both at the ministry level and the commissions, we must operate with the spirit of cooperation and healthy competition. The boards and management of the commissions must work in harmony. I have always stressed this, that when there's no harmony between the board and the management, there will be progress. Therefore, there's no need quarreling with yourself. I have always used the situation in the North NDDC and the Northeast as an example. For those of you in 5 new development commissions that is coming on board, you must work in harmony and cooperation among yourself. Even if there's a division, you are management, you are chairman, water must flow from one compartment to the other for you to succeed. It's not a watertight separation. At this juncture, let it be known that the realities of dwindling development financing compel us to innovate, diversify our financing models, and explore alternative funding mechanisms, including public-private partnerships, PPP. I'm sure that's why the DG of PPP was invited to deliver a paper to you in this area today. However, let it be made clear that in achieving all of this, there's one important thing: due process must not be compromised. This is an area where our guru in this field, Emeka Eze, was carefully selected to be present here today to let you know what constitutes infraction, what you will do that cannot lead you into problem. So the commissions, your activities, you are not just there to do whatever you like. There are a lot of rules, there are regulations, there are mandates given at various levels, there are different levels of authority. I'm sure he has enough to share with you in this area. In this regard, I assure you of the ministry's commitment to providing policy guidance, monitoring and evaluation to ensure that the commissions operate within the framework of national priorities. You must operate within the framework of national priorities and global best practices. We must collectively reject the practices of impunity, wastages, and uncoordinated interventions that have, in many cases, impeded the progress we all aspire to achieve. Therefore, we should also prioritize citizen engagement and stakeholder participation at every stage of project conceptualization and implementation. You don't just go and then go into a room, 2 or 3 persons in the commission. You just draft a paper, you refer to it as budget. That is not a budget. You must engage citizen participation. I know last year, my permanent secretary was in Port Harcourt with the NDDC. Similar to used to take place in Northeast. But those of you that are coming, there's what you call citizen engagement. You must engage the citizen in your region. You don't just go into a room, as I've said, because I've also noticed that for this year, it's only 3 of the 5 new regional development commissions that we have seen their budget. The other 2 that have not submitted their budget assume that you have no budget. Take it, because the law establishing you is very clear. Your budget is an executive one. It has to pass through the ministry, then to the National Assembly. It's not for you to sit in your room and just write a budget. And that is the provision of the act. It's not my own making. Let us use this retreat to interrogate our practices, challenge ourselves, and form stronger boards of collaborations. Let us live here with renewed energy, clear commitments, and a shared determination to deliver on the promises we own to our regions and our people. The ministry stands ready to lead, to support, and to hold us accountable to higher standards of service and patriotism. Thank you, and I wish us all fruitful deliberations as we listen to very key and powerful speakers today. The chairman of the Federal Civil Service Commission is here. We have here our colleagues, Senator Ita Enag, who will also be taking you through the relationship, what's supposed to constitute the relationship between the National Assembly, the commissions, and the ministry. We also have other powerful speakers, Sam Amadi, some very known names in delivery lectures in Nigeria. So we have a lot to learn. And the purpose of this summit is for us to learn. I will be here throughout the period, and I can assure you that in every session, we'll be marking the register to know who and who is present. If I'm here to participate, there's no reason why all the managing directors, the chairman, and the executive directors will not be here. Because the purpose of this summit is for you to know what your own assignment is. Because ours is to set the tone for the full, efficient and smooth takeoff of the development commissions. Having said that, I want to once again thank you and thank everybody for listening. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister for Regional Development, we appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to quickly recognize a few people that are here. Dr. Abdullahi Usman, Chairman, Code of Conduct Bureau, High Commission, is here with us. I welcome you. Professor Tuji Olaokwa, Chairman, Federal Civil Service Commission, ever ready to share his knowledge with everybody. I welcome you, sir. And former Director General of the Bureau for Procurement, and now Chairman, FCT Civil Service Commission, Engineer Emeka Eze, who is also former President of Nigerian Society of Engineers. I welcome you. Thank you very much. Also here is Matthew Alao, Senior Governance Advisor, UNDP Nigeria. You're welcome. And Dr. Jobson Ewalefo, Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, represented by Dr. James Akwe, Technical Advisor to the DG. I welcome all of you. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome here a man that has shown his leadership qualities even when he was in the House of Representatives. He has commitment, he has responsibility, and a strong belief in a prosperous Nigeria. Unfortunately, Mama is gone, but your work represents the amazing work Mama has done to raise you. Please join me as I welcome here, representing His Excellency the Governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpewolo. Please welcome the Deputy Governor, Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister, the Ministry of Regional Development, Engineer Abubakar Momo, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Regional Development, Dr. Mary Ada Ogbe, all chairmen of Senate Committees of Regional Development, all chairmen of House Committee on Regional Development, all chairmen of Development Commission here present, all MDs and CEOs of Development Commissions here present, development partners, resource persons, critical stakeholders, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to represent my principal, the Governor of Edo State, distinguished Senator Monday Okpewolo, the Akwakomiza of our generation. Allow me to read the speech. On behalf of His Excellency Senator Monday Okpewolo, the Executive Governor of our dear state, who is unavoidably absent due to other state engagement, I bring you warm greetings from the government of Edo State and the amazing people of Edo. We are deeply honored that Benin City, the city of history, culture, and commons, has been chosen to host this landmark event. The need for the 3 days retreat cannot be overemphasized. The theme, generating fresh ideas to unlock the potentials of the region, is a welcome development in regional transformation. At this point in our history, when Nigeria's development path has been uneven, fresh ideas become incumbent to address these challenges, where some regions boast of modern infrastructure, industrial corridors, and digital connectivity, and others are lagging behind. This retreat will give us a detailed national framework and balanced regional development. Edo State mega agenda of making Edo great again and our Shine agenda has made Edo a more secured state, an industrial hub for commerce, tourism, and businesses. We are building an Edo economy anchored on production, not just consumption. We therefore welcome fresh ideas because our experiences shows the sub-region successes requires federal government enablement. Distinguished participants, let us at this retreat work together to achieve the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President. Renew Hope is for all geopolitical zones in this country. It is for all Nigerians, from my village to Yanagua, from Sokoto to Ibadan. No region must be left behind. On behalf of His Excellency, the Governor of Edo State, I thank the federal government for this bold step, and the Minister of the Regional Development and the Planning Committee for choosing Benin City as the host city. Please, let's take time to enjoy the hospitality of our dear state and also see the people-oriented infrastructure being constructed across the state by our working governor. Finally, we need to build a balanced, competitive, and united Nigeria. On this note, I hereby declare this retreat open in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. May God bless you all. May God bless Edo State, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
We can do better than that, please. There's an applause for the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Dennis Idahosa. Thank you so much for that well-tailored opening remark. Thank you so much, sir. All right, Your Excellency, please permit me to move to the next item on the program. Very quickly. Just to make this announcement, please, the following facilitators are to submit their paper presentation for projection to Mr. Naz. Please, Dr. Sam Amadi, Senator Ambassador Solomon Ita Enang, Dr. Abdullahi Husban Bello, and Dr. Jepson Ewalefo. Please do submit your paper presentation to Mr. Nat at the council. All right, the next item on the program is a group photograph, and that
Yes. We will take the group photograph, but let us take one of the main papers that will set the mood. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome a man that understands the essence of doing projects and being prudent about it. Former President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, former DG Bureau for Public Procurement. Currently, he is the chairman of the FCT Civil Service Commission. But let me quickly welcome Honorable Jafaru Leko, representing Chair NDDC House of Reps, the Chairman Senate Committee on Northwest Development Commission, Senator Babangida Hussaini, and Chairman House Committee on Northwest, Engineer Suleiman Abubakar Gumi. I welcome all of you. So, our first paper that will set the tone will be coming from who is now currently the chairman of the FCT Civil Service Commission. Please welcome, as I invite here, Engineer Emeka Eze. Let's appreciate him. He told me if the applause is not loud, he will not speak.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Governor of Edo State. Let me publicly acknowledge and thank you for making me part of your retreat in Urua, and acknowledge the good work that is being done in Edo State. Along with your Deputy Governor, I was part of the statewide retreat, and I'm happy to report that what I saw is very encouraging. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, the senators, members of National Assembly, the Honorable Minister, and the senior colleague, professional colleague, Engineer Abubakar Momo, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you. The Permanent Secretary, Chairman, MDs, EDs, Directors, and everyone here. I hope my presentation is on the screen. Some of the ideas we are going to generate started from His Excellency, Mr. President, who, when he came on board, had 2 commissions or thereabouts. Yes. Then he generated a new idea of getting regional commissions. So that idea has been generated. But let me upfront say that some of the things I'm going to say today will be unsettling. And let me upfront apologize and seek your indulgence that I'm going to make comments that may threaten existing procedures and interests and on all that, because that's what we have been doing all my life, so to say, trying to see how things can be done differently from the establishment. Are we on the screen? Please, you have my slides? Are they there? Okay, please, can I have next slide, please? Good, of course, you see the Ministry of Regional Development, and then you see the commissions. 6 + 1, 7. And I have 71 slides, and I will just rush them. Next slide. Well, of course, you do know that the President started their new idea of regional commission. I've said about you have the way they are. I renamed the Ministry of Niger Data Affairs. That was started in 2009. And I think it was late secretary to the government before Kate that was the pioneer minister. May God bless his soul. Next slide. You have them. Next slide. Next slide. Good. In trying to make this presentation, I want to bring Public Service Rule 170201 that provides that ministers exercise control over commissions at policy level only through the boards. Meaning that ideally, the ministry has no direct relationship with the MDs. And then it is expected that development objectives of the commission can only be achieved through spending of public funds. And therefore, the word public funds and public procurement is mentioned. Therefore, the use of public funds to meet the developmental objectives of government is called public procurement. It usually involves engaging third parties, contractors, suppliers, and consultants. And then supply of commodities, finished products, office consumables, office furniture are covered under goods. While infrastructure projects like bridges, roads, you know them, are under works. Then services like engagement of architects, engineers, management, retreat are called services. Next slide. And all our civil feasibility studies, good, not too busy there. Each of these categories, please can you come? I'm not picking the signal. Each of these categories of procurement, goods, works, and services is generally guided by different legal and regulatory regime under the Nigerian public procurement ecosystem. Next slide. There may be people who, especially people who are new to the federal institutions, for us to understand how we got to where we are, that public procurement is a global requirement by United Nations, that every country must have a legal regime on how to spend public funds. And it started in 2003 when Sister Ngozi, as the Minister of Finance, signed and committed Nigeria. And then on June 4, President Yar'Adua signed the Public Procurement Act, and then the rest is history. Established the Bureau of Public Procurement, and I was privileged to be the first person that will midwife, set all the rules, guidelines, circulars, and all that. And so that is how it is, how we got here. Next slide. And what does it entail? That the National Assembly, as the custodian, appropriates funds. And then we have the money there. You have the MDAs here of all names, whatever name you call them, all federal institutions. And what do? They provide goods, they provide works, and they provide services. This process here, please come back. Here is what we call public procurement. The process of setting up people who will do road and all that. Next slide, please. You can see the galaxy of institutional framework for the public procurement. We have the Federal Executive Council or National Council on Public Procurement. You have the BPP, the regulator. You have the MDS where you are. Then you have the National Assembly providing oversight on how the public funds are appropriated is being spent. Then you have the MDAs, you have the private sector, the contractors, the suppliers, those who hang around the MDAs looking for the honey here. And then you have the civil society who will look for good governance, whose job is to ensure good governance. And then beside here, we have the EFCC and ICPC waiting for petitions. And then, of course, after investigation, they take you to court. And then if you are found guilty or even embarrassed, you are in. So you can see that nobody is completely free. That is why it's called a public procurement. But 2 PAMSECs have gone to jail. 2 of my directors have gone to jail. And of course, you know many ministers are under investigation. So, and I wouldn't want any one of us here who are privileged to have access to public funds to be subjected to any form of public ridicule. Next slide. And there are features that you may wish to know, that it is government activity most vulnerable to abuse. And it serves as interface between the public officials and private sector. The moment you get appointed into public office, all your classmates from primary school will surface. All your wife's relations will surface. Everybody who you never knew before that were related to you will come forward. They are looking for something. They are looking for opportunity to partake in that. Then, of course, it is government program through which you deliver your objectives, like we have all known. Then it is key to good governance. Next slide. It prevents inappropriate access to public funds. People need to have access to public funds. But when their access becomes inappropriate, then that's when you have committed a crime. Then from there, you implement government policies. And they have multiple stakeholders. They are there. You see them, ministers, National Assembly, governing boards, community leaders, traditional rulers, civil societies, contractors, professional associations, everybody. And in this era of social media, even when you are doing a job, there are some people by the side who are taking pictures and submitting to government. Next slide. Structure for effective and efficient delivery. The government objectives as contemplated under these acts or the commissions can only be achieved within a clear and concise administrative structure of each commission. I've taken space to go through the commissions and find out that as we go further, I say, it is expected that the structure should be such as to facilitate efficient and effective implementation of projects. As simple as what the small drama we saw here before, during the goodwill message, will tell you what it takes when people of equal rank take decision, and it is an issue. And so, it is important for us to understand the meaning of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Here, you make inputs at this level. What are the inputs that you do while getting a thing done? And then how long does it take in processing efficiency? And then what is the outcome? When they miss the objectives, then it sees that the solution you are devising is effective in achieving the objectives. And when the objectives are achieved, the outcome serves the need of the people. And then the output will be the impact, the benefits, and all that. And then they say value for money is achieved. Once that is done, that is the essence of public procurement, to have value addition. And so I have used Southeast Development Commission to show you how complex the relationship could be that will cause problem in their managing the funds. And so Northeast Development Commission and NDDC have a slight different nomenclature, and they're very clearer. And you see here, the commission, they have 21 governing board members, made up of a chairman, 5 reps, 5 regional reps, 1 rep of Minister of Finance, Minister of Environment, Minister of Budget and Planning, Managing Director, 5 executive directors, 1 from each state. And then, and the law says that they can pay the staff of the commission. Such remuneration and allowances are applicable to persons in the public service. So the salary is already fixed. So the board cannot pay anything other than what the federal government is paying of similar ranks. Next. Then Section 10 of the code says, created 11 directorates. And the board has the power to create additional directorates if deemed necessary. But in the case of NDDC, President's approval is needed before a directorate can be created. You can see the slight difference. Then here, the law created a management committee made of 12 members, chairman, managing director, and 11 directors. This committee is responsible to the board and the MD for the government administration of the commission. And all this. There's no mention of executive directors. And they're there. And then you have advisory committee, then you have monitoring committee, as number of persons that the president may deem fit. Next slide. You see here, in line with the law, you have the president, Federal Executive Council, you have the minister, you have this, you have the advisory committee, you have the MD serving as secretary to the board, then you have management committee, then you have 5 EDs. You have secretary of the committee as the MD, and then you have 11 directors. These 11 directors report directly to the MD, right? And then the MD and his management committee are responsible to the board for their day-to-day activities. The EDs, there's no mention about their job. So in an attempt to get into the loop, there will be struggle. What is my job? Next, relationship crisis. From the above legal provision, it is obvious that there is likelihood of crisis in managing the interplay of relationships of all the stakeholders. While the law provides for the responsibilities of career directors and the MD as the accounting officer, it is silent on the responsibilities of EDs, who are also appointees of Mr. President. It therefore becomes imperative that this must be sorted out as quickly as possible to avoid conflict. And this goes for all the other new commissions. I just use Southeast as an example. Next. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Good. No, this is not the next slide. Okay. Let's look at Northeast Development Commission. It has a governing board of 13 members, as listed here. But here, the law says that the board can pay staff of the commission such remuneration and allowances that the board may determine. Here, the law gives the board the leverage to fix salary and allowances. And then they have 3 executive directors: admin, humanitarian affairs, and operations. Next slide. And here, these departments, admin and human resources, humanitarian department, and technical department. I say here, there is established projects monitoring and supervision unit which shall be under the relevant authorities. The board has the power to create or decrease the number of departments, divisions, or units. Here, they can do so without reference to the president. And then they have management committee, the MD, 3 executive directors, and directors. You can see this law is clear about the role of the EDs. This committee is responsible to the board for the general administration of the commission. And then they created a secretary to the commission, who must be a lawyer and all that. Next slide. Good. So you can see here, the Northeast Development Commission, they have an MD, they have management committee that is made of the MD, 3 executive directors, and the directors. So everybody is brought in. So there won't be need for conflict because the MD is still the accounting officer and personally liable in the case of any infraction. So next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please. Good. So let me have established it quickly. I will rush this because I know we are rushing back to Abuja. Of course, I've tried to tell you that public procurement is the use of public funds to deliver or acquire public goods, works, and services, usually through a third party called contractor. The use of public funds to meet the mandate of Ministry of Regional Development is therefore public procurement. So, and these are the things you do. Next slide. Next slide. Good. You have many legal documents to guide you. You have the Public Procurement Act, you have the Finance Act 2020, Finance Act 2023, BPP regulations, procedures manual, standard bidding documents, requests for proposals, circulars. Next slide. These things are all in the BPP website. We developed them from 2007 to date. Then we have this law applies to everybody, every federal institution, including National Assembly, CBN, Judiciary. Next slide. Next slide. Objectives. The core objective of public procurement is this: captured value for money, economy, integrity, fit for purpose, blah, blah. And these are romantic words that we normally teach. This kind of training normally will last for 1 week or thereabout, but we just run it for you to know. Later we can go into details. Next slide. Next slide. Transparency. What does it mean when you say transparency? It means that the process must be made available to all bidders at the same time. Simple. Next slide. Then, next slide. Competition. Key to public procurement is competition, so that anybody who wins knows he wins. Normally through open competitive bidding, to achieve what you call 5 R's: right quality, quantity, quality, place, and order. You know, in Second Republic, when we built the Shagari housing scheme, houses were built in places where people were not living. and they were all abandoned. So when you deliver a project in a place that nobody will use them, it is useless. Next slide. Procedures. Because my topic is understanding procedures, yes? What is a procedure? It's basically the step-by-step action you need to take before engaging a contractor to render service to you. That is what a procedure is. And then the procurement flow chart, starting from needs assessment. The Honorable Minister of Regional Development alluded to it when he said citizen engagement. In citizen engagement, it requires that you get from the people what their needs are. Right? And so, there was a story told of a community in the Benue State when the UNICEF went and built borehole for them because there's a stream that is very long away from them. So they built a stream, a borehole for them. But they will realize that after every project, the community will vandalize the borehole. And they begin to ask questions. Why? In one of their meetings, the others told them that this is about the time when the children go out to the early in the morning to go and fetch water. This is about the time the parents have time to meet. Understand what I mean? That building that borehole forced the children to stay at home. And then they have the father and mother not able to because they live in one room, small apartment that they have no time to copulate as couple. And so by building the borehole for them, you deny them natural relationship that they ought to have. And so when you are doing needs assessment, you need to engage with the people for you to tell, for them to tell you what their needs are. And then he goes through this process. Next slide. So when you identify the needs, you develop a procurement plan, get your budget, select procurement method, and goes on to deliver the project. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. What needs to be procured? The same thing about what needs to, at the ministry level, the department responsible for procurement in any of the organization, ministry or commission, what does he need to do? He will collect departmental needs of all the other agencies together and then put them together. So if I want to buy a computer, each department doesn't go buy one computer. Everybody will say the things they need and then they collect them together and then do a procurement plan. Because now it's a crime with 3-year jail term for you to award a contract without a procurement plan. Next slide. Finance Article 27 of Finance Act 2023 has now criminalized and that every officer who awards a contract without approval commits a crime and on conviction will go to jail for 3 years or a fine of 10 million naira. And the Bureau has developed the template for that. Next slide. Who are the members? And that's where the issues are. The accounting officer, who is the permanent secretary in the case of the ministry. One of our colleagues went to jail because of this kind of thing. And it's something that we don't want to. And then the head of procurement is the secretary of that. And then all heads of departments are members. The idea of all heads of members is for it to create an inclusive governance, such in a manner that everybody who is part of management knows what's going on and can defend the ministry. And their job is that on the basis of implementation of your budget, that is what you do. Next slide. The procurement methods, there are several of them that are the sections. And what are they? They are methods through which procurement entities solicit for offers from the public. How does somebody outside know that you have a project? That is what procurement method is all about. And there are two ways, open and restricted. It's either I advertise it. This is the ideal one, where you give enough time. But many a time, we're in a hurry, we want to do this. And I've been asked to talk about conditions under which you do direct procurement, restricted tendering, where you limit your own. And this is the one that naturally leads to people to trouble. Right? So the procurement method says that if what you want to procure is more than 1 billion and above, you advertise internationally. If the works is up to 5 billion and above, advertise internationally. For services, the same thing. Then for national competitive bidding, if what you want to procure is less than 1 billion or less than 5 billion for works or less than 1 billion for services, you do national competitive bidding. Then to avoid abuse, deliberately we reduce the quotation threshold to less than 30 million, 50 million for works. In other words, if what you want to procure is less than 30 million, it was revised to accommodate it. You don't need to go advertise. You request for quotation from people. For works, 50 million years and all that. And then for services, for pre-qualification, if the services is less than or above 1 billion, you must do pre-qualification. For services, anything above 100 million, you use QCBS. These are terminologies that procurement officers will be more conversant with, but just working on. Next slide. Direct procurement, which is what I've been asked to talk about. What is direct procurement? It's provided under Section 42 of the Public Procurement Act, as amended, is a non-competitive restricted tendering method used only in exceptional cases where competitive bidding is impractical or inefficient. It enables the ministry to procure goods, works, and services from specific suppliers without recourse to the normal competitive bidding process. In line with Section 40 of the PPA, BPP's approval is needed before using this method. If you do direct procurement without getting BPP's no objection, you have committed a crime, and you'll be a subject to EFCC investigation. And you don't want boys who are your orderlies to come and ask to wait for them, for you to come and explain, why did you do this? When actually you can get approval. It is not called no objection, it's called approval. Then Section 42, subsection 1, A to F, says again, when the goods are only available from a particular supplier. For instance, if I have a generator, 1,500 kVA generator, being delivered by Mikano or Caterpillar, and I need a spare, I don't need to go and advertise because I know it's the only Caterpillar that has it. I'll go to them, they will bring it to me because they have exclusive right over it. Or there is an urgent need for goods and engaging in tender proceeding is impracticable due to unforeseeable circumstances, giving rise to the urgency. Yesterday we were coming here, there was rain, for instance, and then the road is cut off, a roof is blown off. That is clear emergency. You can approach somebody to deliver using benchmarking against previous procurements you've done. Next slide. It goes on to say, if there's a catastrophic event, there's urgent need, procurement entity which has procured goods of equipment or services determines that additional supply. In other words, if somebody has supplied these air conditioners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you suddenly find you need additional 2, you don't need to go and begin another procurement process. You just invite them to please give us additional 2 units under the same terms and conditions as in the previous one. Because there was no need, you are not going to achieve any value by advertising for it, because you already have procured the first set through open competitive bidding. Then you ask them to supply additional ones. Next slide. Then here it goes on, if there's need for compatibility. For instance, if all my air conditioners I have are maybe Hisense or LGA, and I have a particular kind of, what do they call it now? You have already trained your mechanics to be conversant with that part of that particular equipment. Then there's need for you to add more. Then you go to the same person who supplied it to you and all that. Next slide. And then when you assume you want to do a research project, like you want to engage Professor Lapa to research on the effect of regional development commissions in Nigeria, then you do so. Because it's an extensive study, you don't require advertisement and all that. Or I want to invite Ebere Young to come and do MC. Next slide. Yes. What is the procedure? You need to prepare a justification report and submit to the BPP for approval. Upon receipt of BPP's approval, you will now issue documents to the people. Depending on the amount of involved, the tender board or the Federal Executive Council will award the contract after obtaining no objection certificate to contract award. So, first of all, I do a justification to BPP that I want to do a direct, and they grant me approval. I receive submissions from them. They will now, I would package it back to BPP to look at the cost. When they said, okay, then the tender board will approve. And then, of course, you put records of the proceedings. Because it is important about records. Because when you leave office, be sure that those who are working with you will write petition. Be sure. No matter who they are. There must be somebody within your system who is not happy, who will now go and give out information. And these records will be your own defense. Especially for permanent secretaries and MDs whose signatures are on the file. Next. Next. Under emergency procurement, you don't need BPP's approval. It is important to emphasize that. You don't need BPP's approval for emergency. What is emergency? Like I said, rain fell yesterday, blew out a roof. I quickly, in order to protect public access, get somebody to go and fix it. Thereafter, I will file a report to BPP, attaching evidence and photographs of what happened. So the law is not intended to stop you from working. And that's why I talked about efficiency. Or if the country is in the need or threatened, then you can do that. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Good. Let me talk about approval authority, because that is what the Honorable Minister of Regional Development alluded to about what you can do. Usually, in order to ensure transparency of the process, those who are in charge of procurement process should not have the final approving authority. That is why even in payment, the person who initiates payment doesn't finalize it. You go through auditing process, so they can ask questions. And the same principle here that governs it. And thereafter, and that's why they set up a committee, so people to ask foolish questions, if you want to use the word, in order to extract whether they follow the process. And when they don't follow the process, the board, as an oversight body of the management, can now instigate the investigation of the board. But if the board themselves gets involved in the approval of projects, then who will oversight the management? I was in court against one chairman of a board, a prominent politician. But the Court of Appeal ruled that he has no responsibility, that it is the accounting officer that has responsibility, and he was discharged and acquitted. When the former speaker was in court, I also was in court against him, and the court ruled that the speaker has no responsibility, that is the clerk of the national, or the clerk of the house, that is the accounting officer, and therefore was also discharged and acquitted. So it is important that the accounting officers know their responsibilities. And so when you are being pushed to get something, know that when you go to court, you won't see anybody's signature apart from your own. Next slide. And so here, Section 17 of the Public Procurement Act has been amended by the Finance Act 2020, that for each ministry, there's established a Ministerial Tenders Board, as this, Parastatal Tenders Board, with the following as chairman: permanent secretary, heads of department. But in the case of commission, the issue will be, what is the role of the executive directors? Where are they? And my advice is that executive directors are just another room in the MD's office. They have the same concurrent authorization, so to say. But the MD is the accounting officer. So it doesn't hurt if they sit in the meeting for good relationship. They can sit in the meeting as observers, but in signing the document to make it authentic, the law has no provision for them. Right? But it is good human relationship for them, because it doesn't hurt for them to be in the meeting. Then you have everything here. The same thing with the parastatals. You have the MD and the same thing. But it goes on further to say the decision of the tender board, before it can be implemented, shall be confirmed by the political head. Meaning that after the tender board has finished, in the case of ministry, before the PAMSEC can go and implement it, it must go to the minister for concurrence. At that point, the minister exercises oversight authority, can decide to withhold it, ask questions, or even decline. The same thing with the commissions. At that level, the chairman of the board can decide to ask questions, to even withdraw or suspend, because that's what the law says. It's not about how I feel. And then here, it shows the threshold that must go to the Federal Executive Council, to the board, and go to this. For works, anything above 10 billion naira must go to PPP, got no objection, and go to Federal Executive Council. But for the ministry, any works that is between 10 billion and above and below, you get no objection, but is awarded at the Ministerial Tender Board level. Right? For the parastatals, you can see Ministerial Tender Board between 5 billion and 10 billion for works. For goods, 1 billion to 5 billion. So for services, the same thing. Then it goes down like this to National Assembly, Judiciary, everything. Then for the chief executives, where they can approve without recourse to anyone, for the permanent secretaries, anything less than 75 million for works, anything less than 30 million for works. But for DGs, 50 million and 20 million. Next slide. Then, good, I've just talked about it. Next slide. Here, what I showed you was the approval method. Here, the same thing, I put it in a table. You can get the slides later. Next slide. Good. Members of Tender Board for the Commission. While the PAMSEC is the accounting officer for the ministry, managing directors are the accounting officers for the various commissions, with the heads of procurement serving as secretaries. The commission, as an extra-ministerial entity, have the same approval threshold as the ministry. You know why it is a commission? Because people don't understand the difference between a commission and ordinary agency. Commissions like EFCC, ICPC, Population Commission are independent commissions. They don't report to any minister. They report direct to the president. And the same thing, that was the concept in the beginning when commissions were created. I'll tell you, in the past, where I chaired a cabinet committee on the location of NDDC then. And there was a struggle between when they created Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs and the Office of SGF and all that. Because of their across-nature mandates, they were being supervised by the ministry, by the Office of Secretary of the Government of the Federation. But for administrative instruments, the president felt that in order to get the ministry busy, they needed to make them under the Ministry of Regional. But unfortunately, they have not changed the law to accommodate this. Next. Is the commission a parastatal or extra-ministerial department? By the enabling acts, commissions are usually considered as extra-ministerial bodies. They are usually independent bodies responsible to the president. EFCC, ICPC, MPC, Federal Civil Service, among all other commissions, usually report directly to the president. And in some cases, report to the president through the Office of Secretary of the Government of the Federation. In the past, NDDC has moved from SGF's office to the MDA, Ministry of Niger Delta, and back to MRD. These are historical facts all of you know. Because even going through the commissions, they said the commission shall be subject and controlled under the direct control of Mr. President. The next, if the National Assembly want to amend it, they say shall be subject to President through the ministry. But so far, it has not been so amended. Next slide. Payments. There's a circular issued which has not been changed when we were there, that payments are to be approved and effected by the Chief Executive Officer. Time was when ministers, before parastatals can make payment, will seek ministerial approval. And it was delaying projects and defeating the essence of creating agencies as implementing arm of various ministries. And so the Federal Executive Council approved, and a circular was issued that payments are the exclusive responsibilities of accounting officers, who will be held responsible if they make payments that are not due, right? And so, however, payments should be approved and effected upon confirmation of performance on the project, which are duly certified by technical or user departments. Payment process and approval is an integral part of contract management and requires proper monitoring. Next slide. In concluding, I have just 1 minute. Public procurement provides the legal framework for public expenditure. Understanding its provisions is key to effective and efficient delivery of the Ministry of Regional Development and the Commission's mandates. Designing a clear administrative structure that facilitates project delivery will minimize conflicts that could arise as various officers interact in the course of discharging their responsibilities. While direct procurement is supported by law under emergency and proprietary context, it must be carefully monitored to prevent abuse. Abuse of threshold of approval has the likelihood of unpleasant consequences. Abiding and working within the limits of all approval thresholds will protect every public officer against prosecution by anti-corruption agency. And here, next slide. Nobody wants his pictures to be flashed on national television like this. And that is the essence of public procurement, this sensitization engagement, for us to be a little bit cautious in spending money. Yes, it is sweet, but at times, if you go against the rule, it could turn out to be bitter. You can even regret taking the job in the first instance. Next slide. I want to thank you for your opportunity. It is a topic that usually don't excite politically exposed people. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can we appreciate him? He's a walking encyclopedia on procurement, a gift indeed to Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you. Engineer Emeka Eze. Before we break for tea or take a group photograph, we'll take another paper. And this paper will be taking a look at the institutional framework for appointment, promotion, and discipline in the public service, a guide to regional development commissions. The man is civil service working on 2 legs. It's my honor to welcome here Professor Tunji Olaokpa. I welcome you, Prof. A professor will be doing 30 minutes. At 25, you'll see me or Tony beside you. We welcome you, sir. Amazing civil servant.
Thank you very much. I hope my presentation will be projected. Huh? I give him. I've given out my presentation, please. His Excellency the Governor, represented by His Excellency the Deputy Governor, Honorable Minister of Regional Development, the Permanent Secretary. Oh, okay, so we're here. With all due respect to my colleague, Engineer Eze, if he has not left the room, I joined the civil service myself from the academia, and I confronted kind of conversation that we are having today from day one. I'd like to say that the ministry and regional development corporations should sit down and map their power and responsibility relationship. If the president, as the executive president of the country, created a regional development ministry without any other responsibility than to manage regional, framework, which is for me is an administrative way of restructuring the country. I don't think it is right to say that the Ministry of Regional Development is not the face of the president in this sector. And the regional development commissions, without prejudice to whatever the law says, have responsibility to report through the ministry to the president. How that happens as standard operating procedures can be worked out in such a way that it does not contradict the law and all. Next slide, please. Please go on, next slide. Now, in doing my own presentation, I'm not going to do the typical presentation because it's just a guide. And I'm relying on what I consider standard practices in the public service. And that has to be contextualized in the contextualized within the framework of the law of the commissions. But I need to quickly disabuse, give some admonitions. It is, okay, please, next slide. I'd like to say that generally, this is a generic set of, broad guide, commencing with some admonition or general statement on why, and we confront this all our career, and I confronted it when I joined the service myself. When outsider professionals come into the public service and they find themselves having to function sometimes hesitantly and annoyingly under rule-based protocols, in deference to the wisdom that when you are in Rome, you don't necessarily have to behave like Romans, but you must be open to learn the way of the Romans, even if you have to question some of the things they do in order to revise and improve them. So in the second part of my presentation, I will simply run us through largely familiar human resource generic guidelines on recruitment and promotion, and including career management and discipline, in the assumption that this guide would, help you as you finalize your standard operating procedures and protocol, SOPs, that you will finally process for approval, adoption, and you'll be working with going forward. Next slide. Now, let me say this. Regional Development Commission's mission for some of us is so crucial to the crystallization of Nigerian project, and any well-meaning Nigeria should support this effort. And that is what, for those of us who are in some of the institutions, we take passion because we know that if you get this job right, then the whole national question, the whole dysfunctional federalism, that is holding Nigeria's accelerated development will be partially, at least administratively, engaged even while we are sorting the constitutional aspect. So in asking the typical question that some of us who are not bureaucrats, who are not public servant, career public servant, I myself call myself scholar practitioner, scholar bureaucrat. The question regarding why you must work with rule-based protocol and code of delivering on the RCs, and a lot of this featured in the procurement, especially as there are legion of smart, good, best practices tools, technique, that innovations that, based on your experience and your expertise, you will have loved to adopt. Now, in offering the guideline, and based on my past experience doing this, same task, along the line of service to newly floated public institutions, it will be dishonest for me not to recognize that up to this point, there must have been a whole lot of heated conversations, debate, contentions, and arguments, and possibly disagreement on what should go into the guideline for human resource management and standard operating procedure and other ground rules for the operation of the RDCs. I experienced the same when I joined the service in 1988. I witnessed constant clashes between technocrat, outsider professional, and my boss's bureaucrat. Next slide. So what are my general statements? When we then, the argument always arises when professionals, bureaucrats, professional civil servant activate what we normally would call democratic control or bureaucratic control, democratic accountability, administrative governance codes, general order that we call the public service rule and establishment circulars. But I was fortunate in my case to be guided by mentors, and I like to always remember the advice of three people that I first worked with when I worked with the then president, military ruler, the President IBB, Professor Jetunji Abayade, Professor Mabukunje, and Dr. Malayoli. They taught me one thing, that though the I am directed public administration system might be largely traditional, archaic, and outdated, when compared with the universal management best practice and value system. But the public administration, even where there are world class, whether you are talking of Singapore, whether you are talking of Malaysia, whether you are talking of the Asian Tigers or the OECD, the business administration and its corporate governance principle remain very different from the operational guideline of public administration. The industry practice is different from the public service practices. And we must learn. And what I was then taught was that if I was going to make significant impact as a critical player in the policy space, working as strategic partners to professional civil servant and bureaucrat. Next slide. I must bring an open-minded seminar spirit and understanding to the public service code of practice, with full recognition that public administration is a distinct profession on its own right, with shared passion and understanding to co-create public value. You will discover that some of the smart ideas that you have may indeed become the inner will for reform and social re-engineering of some of the institutional framework that you have found. Why? Because there are perspectives in new public management on which new thinking do right and can right in the public service administrative system. If we are patient, if our attitude, if we don't bring attitude, professional arrogance, not on my life disposition to the old dynamics. Next slide. So by way of introduction, quickly, within the limit of time, I said before that I regard this mission, regional development, as such a sacred responsibility shaping our shared future. And what do I mean? It is the regional development commissions are strategic response that assume the structurally constrained Nigerian Federation, one that manifests elements of the uneven development, limited intra and inter-regional partnership in development planning, problem solving, and project management. For all that may mean for economies of scale within the framework of accelerated, inclusive, balanced development to catalyze national growth and transformation. This being, for me, the regional development, like I said before, is an administrative answer to the Nigeria's most critical national question regarding the decried, defective, and dysfunctional hard developmental federalism. Next slide. So, if you want to do such a heavy and national destiny shaping, then you need to, the Regional Development Corporation needs to ride on the most enabling, intelligent, value-based organizational and management system, one that is anchored on strong rule-based standard operating protocols, particularly in the people management domain of appointment, promotion, and discipline, operated within framework and processes codified in the public service rule. And I will tell you why public service rule apply to all institutions, including the Office of the President. An ancillary guideline on administrative procedure applicable in the public service rule. Indeed, the public service of the Federation operates within a well-defined institutional and legal framework derived from the Constitution, the public service rule, financial and regulation, there are a legion of others, and relevant establishments after that. Next slide. This instrument codifies basic democratic principles, which are designed to ensure consistency, fairness, meritocracy, transparency, accountability, and due process in personnel management, with full fidelity to federal character principle, which is enshrined in the Constitution. I don't need to insert the theoretical sense that it is to safeguard the people as democratic imperative and to therefore establish the framework that is protective of public interest. The power of the state can only be exercised within the framework of a set of governance code underpinned by rule of law and constitutional order. Consequently, there are varieties of codes that stipulate what government and other actors in the public service can do, how it should go about it, and how public officials should behave. Next slide. The fundamental instrument that all instrument mandate all MDAs, be they line ministries, specialized special purpose organization, extra ministerial, to operate, or those who operate outside of the traditional civil service structure, but under ministerial oversight. They usually, some of them will possess governing board appointed by government that works alongside supervising ministry, as in your own case. Usually serve accounting, manage their own finances, and receive direct allocation from the national budget. Next slide. Now, so let's go into the heart of the presentation. And I just provided a typical human resource management architecture. HR function of the RDCs must have component roles, job roles, for the formulation and implementation of personnel policy and HR strategy, manpower planning and manpower budgeting, staff training, development and staff welfare, performance management and staff appraisal, industrial relations, exit management and pension administration, and the one we are considering, and recruitment and appointment, promotion and career progression, discipline and grievance management. Next slide. Now, I must also, before, as a prelude to this conversation, draw a distinction between the civil service and the public service. While the public service is an umbrella concept denoting government-funded organization, the civil service is just a subset of administrative staff of ministry and department employed by Civil Service Commission. But the public service institution, public service itself, include the civil service, armed forces, police, judiciary, teaching service, public corporation parastatals, including the commissions. The point to note here is that while all civil servants are public servants, not all public servants are civil servants. All the components institutions that constitute the public service have their institutional arrangement for appointment, promotion, discipline, and general administration of their personnel. I didn't know this thing is wobbled like that. Without exception, however, the public service rule plus, because there are other circulars, apply to all public sector institutions and officials, including the president, the governor. Even the career of the president is governed by the public service rule, except where his provision conflict with specific terms approved by the government to address specific concerns, and such is expressly written into the contract of appointment to the specific office in question. And it has to be taken through the required authorization and approval. While the government board-led statutory corporations and parastatals and commission derive their personnel governance from the public service rule plus, they will usually amplify the framework of the public service rule with framework of rules and regulation as supportive but consistent personnel policy and guideline. So we expect you to also develop your personnel policy, which will drop down from the public service rule. It will go into more specifics as I will go into. Now, subject to the approval by the governing council and processing by the ministry, for the first establishment and the public, it is standard that the ministry must process to the Office of Head of Service for approval. It is standard.